this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. So if you watched last night's show, you'd see that we drove the entire route. I drove from, right now, 420, all the way until 525 at Johnson Avenue back in Pullman, Washington area. And you can see right now it's 420. We're just exiting off of King Road onto Taylor Avenue here. And then we head up onto Elantra Drive. Then we get onto Conestoga and then Palouse River Drive. Most people believe that Brian Kohberger is the killer. Most rational-minded people, anyways. I believe that Brian Kohberger is the killer, and I believe that the probable cause document lays out a case where it's hard for him to get out of. Now, there's people out there that say stuff like, they always use the phrase, isn't it innocent until proven guilty, Gray? And yes, I totally agree with that. In the court of law, it is innocent until proven guilty. This is my opinion, though, that Brian Kohberger is a killer. I can't say factually that he is, but I think the facts in the case prove that he is. So that's why I believe that he is the killer. Now, I guarantee you that all the people that say, isn't he innocent until proven guilty, Gray, are the same people that when Brian Laundrie was on the run, all said, oh, God, he did it, man, he did it, and talked about it all the time. And they didn't say, hey, everybody, he's innocent until proven guilty. Now watch, in the comments section, I'm sure I'll get people to say, I did, Gray, I was one of the people. Good for you, good for you. But I can tell you that most of the people in here that say that same thing, isn't it innocent until proven guilty, are the same people that have said they believe somebody's guilty many, many times in other cases. This just isn't one of those. So what happens is once you've aligned yourself with a specific side, you get offended when somebody else says that they believe somebody is guilty if you don't. So then they say, isn't it innocent until proven guilty? You know, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like a little psychological game people play, but everybody has the right to say that you believe somebody is guilty based on the evidence, and he has been arrested, and he has no bail, and a grand jury indicted him. So we could look at it like that. Who's more likely to be correct in this scenario? All right. Anyways, so as we know, the vehicle exited this area over here onto Palouse River Drive at around, I think it was 5:24. In fact, I think we're just about there on this video right here. So at 4:23 and 9 seconds, we're making our way around, and this is it right here. This is Palouse River Drive. So we make it here to 4:23 after leaving the residence at 4:20. And then we make it to Highway 95 right around 4:25. So right around 4:25, we make it right to this area here. And here's something that's interesting. So on all the different loops and different, you know, when he's exiting, he goes to Highway 95 right here. But when he gets there, he drives right here and turns left on Nursery Street. So when he first arrived there, he turned left on Nursery Street. It's also possible he took Southview Avenue here, but I think it's more likely he took this because it's something easy to remember. He goes through Highway 95 and then turns left on Nursery Street and then goes on Indian Hills Drive right here. And then as we remember, he drives up here, gets onto Steiner, passes the A&W restaurant, and is filmed there, missing a front license plate, then drives up in this direction on Taylor Avenue, seen on a Linda Lane camera driving by right here, then pulls in, and then we've gone over many videos where another Linda Lane camera right here kept filming the vehicle doing loops, and it is Brian Kohberger's white Elantra doing the loops. Now, whether or not you think he's in the vehicle or not, I don't know, but it is Brian Kohberger's white Elantra doing the loops, okay? So it's making the loops. And I think this makes everything kind of easy to remember. He needs something under a stressful situation to make things easy to remember. So he comes out here At the end, after he's committed the murders, he makes it here to Palouse River Drive, goes through Highway 95, and then passes Nursery Street, and then he knows that you could take the next right onto Paradise Ridge Road. And the reason I'm picking this location for where I think he may have stashed the bloody knife and the clothing and so forth is because I've always looked at this wooded area here and have been interested in it, thinking maybe he tossed an item there, because I've been aware of the missing 16 or 17 minutes since the beginning of the case when they put out the probable cause document. When I was going through it, I said, wow, this doesn't make sense right here. So the route that law enforcement has is going down here, and there's 16 minutes of missing time at 4:48 here. We went over that in the video that I showed yesterday. So let me go here, and now we're driving down the freeway as this video is still playing in the background. And if I move it forward here to around 4:32, let's just go right there. 4:32, you can see in the red dot where on the highway it is. There's Blaine is right over here. And then I shift it to 4:48 because that's when they say the ping happened. Now that means prior to that, there's 16 minutes of missing time because it should have pinged here at 3:32. So do you understand that? At this location here, it should have pinged at 3:32, but it pinged at 4:48. That means prior to getting there, there's at least 16 minutes of missing time. Now it could be 13 to 17. I'll just keep saying 16 minutes of time. And I would think that he would want to get rid of the bloody knife and the bloody clothing quickly. So here you go. You drive through Highway 95 and you take the first right after Nursery Street onto Paradise Ridge Road. And here's what Paradise Ridge Road looks like from the street. And again, from the satellite, it's right here. If I go down to Street View, I always have to prove everything. Or you get the naysayers, how do we know that's the right spot, Gray? Well, anyways, here is Paradise Ridge Road. You can see it right there on the sign. And you turn, and then you've got a building there, and the two, I don't know if those are silos. And then you see the mountain range, etc. And we go back to the video. And there you go. There is the pole, the mountain, the building over there with the two silos. All right. So let's just play it from here. And the 2-minute mark on this video is right here. And we'll start the drive up into the wooded area up there. Now you got a picture right now. Brian Kohberger is absolutely got adrenaline going. He just wants to get rid of the items as quick as possible. May have had a pre-dug hole up here, and he's gonna drive, and he's heading out there, and he's gonna put it in there, but he's trying to maintain composure to not drive too fast. So he's driving down, if this is the route that he took. This is what I'm visualizing. So again, this is a route that's a little bit desolate, not a lot of homes, etc. There might be some cameras on some of these businesses here. Don't know. But as you can see, that it's not a very populated area, and now we're back onto a dirt road again, which is very similar to the route across from Highway 95 to 195 if you had watched the video that I put out yesterday. It is 61 minutes long, but I think it's totally worth your while to watch it because you can see why Brian Kohberger picked that route. I didn't see one vehicle in the daytime driving across, and at night there'd be less. And even if a camera picked up your car at night from a distance, you wouldn't be able to tell what drove by. It might be that they have the vehicle on that route driving by and they can track it based on the timing, but it'd be very difficult to make out what type of vehicle it was because almost all the homes out there on that route are offset from the road quite a bit. I did have a dog jump out and come try to chase my vehicle at one point in that video. So you can see up at the top up there, there's some cell towers up on that mountain over there, and that's where we're headed. So we'll take a look at the satellite imagery again. And so we're heading up into that wooded area up there. And we're trying to get up into here. So this is Paradise Ridge Road. one of these areas up here, I'm not sure exactly where on this road here, but it's blocked and you're not allowed to go where these cell towers are. There's actually, somebody's taken some 360-degree footage up here, and here's one of them right there. And obviously the cell towers are back there, but you can't see them. And this is what it looks like. It's high up in the air, so these cell towers are in a pretty good position to be able to transmit to cell phone devices in a pretty wide area. So that's that ridge, and right now the car is currently driving up into this area here. When I was there, the roads were absolutely icy, as you can see right there. And on the way back down, my car would slide, and I had studded snow tires and a Subaru. So if it was icy, then this wouldn't have been a place where Brian's white Elantra would have gone if he didn't have studded snow tires, etc. Now, this is just a theory, a place that I think he could have gone, right? I don't know for certain. I'm just giving you an example. Now, in the comments section, why don't you tell me where you think he may have dumped the bloody knife or items? You got to realize, though, it's got to be prior to Blaine, Idaho, and sort of in that general area and off to the side. It could also be that he took a longer route that took an extra 16 minutes to avoid being seen on cameras by going a different route and then merging back into the area of Blaine, Idaho on Highway 95. And so that's definitely a possibility. But man, this is very, very icy when I was there. It seemed pretty dry on the night of the murders, but it had snowed, because you see snow on the ground on some of the images that are out there. And so right now we are, if you give another minute, let's say you take a minute from 95 to get to Paradise Ridge Road, so that would put us at 1 minute. That means we're at about 6 minutes right now from Highway 95. And that means, let's say you stop the car right in this general area here. And I'm going to stop it because the video runs out right here. But let's say you stopped it right here and you went up in the woods and you buried it in a pre-dug hole. Maybe use that stump right there as your guide. And you go up there and you put it into a pre-dug hole that you dug on one of your other 12 trips out into the area. And you get out of the car, you put it in there, takes you a couple minutes. And you get back in your car and you turn around and it's another 6 minutes out. So 6 plus 6 plus 4 is 16. So that's 16 minutes of missing time. And what that would look like from the air would be you drive back out of the area, down Paradise Ridge Road to Palouse River Drive here, and then take a left on Highway 95, and that would put you at 448 here near Blaine, which is right there. But if you look, there's all kinds of other roads. I had a viewer send me a possible route that they think, and you know, it's one of those ones that winds around all the way through in these areas and then comes back out, and then you make your way back to Highway 95. You know, in this area, you could come out there, you could come out right there, you could come out right here. Tons of different spots that you could drive, and those might have killed the entire 16 minutes. But on those routes, did you also put the bloody knife and the bloody clothing? And if you went out there, was it just on the side of the road that you did that? There's all kinds of possibilities here. That's why it's so difficult. Now, law enforcement might have a better handle on the ping information and can isolate where he was for those 16 minutes. But it's definitely possible that this route before it pinged here is not accurate, that he was in this area here. I mean, it obviously isn't accurate. That means he did pull off, but did he pull right back on and he start driving again? So it's possible that he went up here, came back, and then this is kept intact. If he drove down Highway 95 and turned off in any of these other areas, then of course, then you'd have to add in that direction and then come back. And man, I mean, if you look at this, like just say he comes down here and he takes a right on like a snow road here, and then drives around and comes up in this area and dumps an item. Well, man, I mean, that area there would match when it pinged near Johnson over here, right? So later in the afternoon, when he comes back from Clarkston, or I guess you could say early evening, 5:32 to 5:36, his phone was on in the area of Johnson. So that means he's not really moving around. It'd be interesting to see what law enforcement has in terms of, does it switch over onto different faces of the tower? So these towers here kept picking him up for those 4 minutes. I mean, 4 minutes, you would generally get about 4 miles, and easily that cell tower could keep contacting the phone. So he could have just been driving by, turned it on because he's heading back in to town, but it seems more purposeful, like he turned it on to use it for mapping again, and then he headed back home, and I guess apparently around 8 o'clock at night his phone pinged again back in Pullman. But what was he doing during this time here? Did he collect the items at 5:32 to 5:36? Or, I mean, obviously that might be when he had it on for mapping to figure out where to go to get to where his items were, if he indeed put his items out there. I mean, there's a lot of speculation here, but we do know that there's 16 minutes of missing time, which seems logical, where you would discard the bloody knife and the bloody clothing, perhaps, maybe even the gloves he was wearing. This area here has been interesting to me too, though, because of the Johnson pings. So he could have just turned the phone on for mapping purposes and kept driving. It kept pinging, and now he knows how to get there because his mapping software is on, and he drives over, kind of over in this area, and collects the bloody knife and the bloody clothing, and then that sort of matches over here, because it could be that he pulled off the highway right here on Thorn Creek Road and then took a right on Broeneck Road, drove around right here, and then dumped the items somewhere out in this area. And then at 5:32 and 5:36 later in the evening, when he drove over here, he turns his phone on to get mapping on his phone, and then he drives out into that same area to collect those items and move them, and then heads on home. But it's interesting on this one, because if he took this exit right there and drove up into here and dumped those items, and then he comes right back out, and as soon as he comes back out, he turns his phone on, and then it pings at 4:48 in this area, because he needs to be able to get out of there. You know, so he didn't have his phone on here, let's say. Although, you know, the thing is to get around in these areas too, you would need your phone on for mapping purposes. So the place he dumped the item would have to be something he had memory of, that he could just do, because he's done it, the route, many, many times. Because when he turned his phone on, that's when he would turn it on when he doesn't have anything on him and he's not committing a crime right at that moment. As soon as he grabs the items, the bloody items again, that's a crime. You know, you're trying to cover up your tracks. You're interfering with an investigation. So let's say he was driving down and he knew to turn on Thorn Creek Road. It would have to be something that was just really obvious for him to remember how to do it and how to get back. And then he turns his phone on around 4:48, because to do this route here, you have to have your phone on. In fact, if you guys remember, when I was driving, I turned right here first, and I went, oh crap. Then I come back out here, and then I pulled over here and was going to take that road, and I was really just looking for Borgen Road right here, but I didn't know exactly where it was. And at night, you can barely read those signs, because it's really just your headlights that are lighting up anything. So I finally made it to here, then I turned and then drove across. I think this takes like 16 minutes or so to get all the way across. to Highway 195, and then I made my way back up. And again, the phone was turned on at 5:30 into Moscow, Idaho, but also the white launcher was seen at 5:25 as it passed a building on Johnson Avenue heading back into Pullman. So I think he turned his phone off once he was on Highway 195. So on his route back home early in the morning, once he gets to 195, he turns his phone off, and then he makes his way up here. You would merely have to remember to turn on Kuykendall Road here, and then make your way to the T and turn left, and now you're home free on Johnson Avenue. His vehicle was seen there, and then he finally turns his phone on at 5:30 in the morning when he made it kind of near his house. And then, as we know, at 9 in the morning he drove back out to the crime scene, perhaps to check his handiwork out. Some people believe that he went there to go find the sheath, but that doesn't make sense to me, to go there at 9 in the morning to go look for a knife sheath when likely that would be a time where law enforcement was all over the crime scene. And then he came back home at around 9:35, and then he heads down to Clarkston, Washington around the 1 o'clock time frame. I have it all mapped out in time. I've made other videos with all that on there. And he's down there, and he's spotted at a Kate's Cup of Joe, near Kate's Cup of Joe, by a camera across the street on another building, or in the same parking area but in another building. And his phone utilized the resources at the Kate's Cup of Joe. So now we have his phone, we have his white Elantra, and then at Albertsons you see Brian Kohberger himself get out of the vehicle. Therefore that is his white Elantra, and that is his cell phone, because that is Brian Kohberger getting out of the vehicle. And then it's after that that he shows back up at 5:32 to 5:36 in this area here somewhere, pinging near Johnson. And we don't know if that means he's on Highway 195 or if he's up in this area, and then we may be able to connect that to where he dumped the items earlier in the morning at around 4:30-ish, somewhere around there he's dumping the items. Then he comes back out at 4:48, he turns his phone back on to get the route back home. Okay, so let me know what you think in the comments section, and make sure to hit that like button for me. That'd be great. But I'd like to know where you think I'd like to know where you think on this map. So keep in mind, it has to be prior to this area, so somewhere out in here. So I would say something like this. So he could have even come down down this area. I would say you even expand it out there, but something in this area here is where he would have likely got rid of the bloody knife and the bloody clothing. Okay, so again, leave a comment, hit that like button. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you appreciate these types of videos. We're not using smoke and mirrors or anything like that. This is real information. If you go back and watch yesterday's video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So thanks again. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.